name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. This is lesson 8, so part 7 of the Coptic Letters. We're going to be taking three more Coptic letters, the ones that usually have more than one pronunciation. One of them is pretty common, it's very similar to English, and two of them are just like the state of the previous lesson is. It's very rare. Like it only happens every blue moon. It's not very common to see that rule. Okay, so let's start with what we have right now. We have our stylus, thank God. The first one we have right now is Cima. As we probably learned in previous ones, Cima just is a C. However, there's only one exception. If it's in a Greek word and it's followed by a may, it becomes a zeta, like a z sound. This is not very common, but one word that comes to mind is the word cosmos. So if you have this word, it's not cosmos, it's koz. You would actually write it as K-O-Z and then M-O-S. So it becomes cosmos. So only in Greek word, when the zeta, or when the Cima is followed by a may, that's when it becomes a z. So how would you differentiate between Greek and Coptic? Well, that's an entirely different lesson. It's actually very easy. It's like when you see an os, most likely it's a Greek one. And for most part, we do not actually look at the word and wonder whether it's Greek or Coptic. You just know it. Like you just remember, oh, cosmos is Greek. You just know it's cosmos, not cosmos. You know, those words like, it's like very similar to English, like when you like the difference between like this word and like this. Sorry, let's actually get a better example. It's like tough and though. They pretty much look the same, but they're pronounced differently. You don't look at the words and wonder, oh, how does it sound like? It's like, this one's like, this is tough, but this is though. This is like different pronunciations, but you just know the word. And they're not very like too many words that actually have this rule. Like I can only have cosmos on top of my mind. So that's the only one. That's actually the only rule that it has, or the only exception. Simple example, remember about the Genkim when I told you a Genkim only comes on Coptic words? So when you see a Genkim, it's definitely a Coptic word, unless it's a typo. So when you say ismu, that is a Coptic word, which means it's not Greek, which means it will be esmu. It's not ismu, it's an esmu, as it's like an S sound, not a Z sound. Because it's Coptic, just as said, so in Coptic words, Cima will be the same, only in Greek words, when Cima would pronounce as a Z if it's followed by a may. Okay, moving on, the Tau, or the Tav, actually almost exactly the same rule. It's only, again, in Greek word, when it's preceded by nay. So like a word such as like the Pandokrator. I think that's how you write Pandokrator, I guess. I'm not sure. But yeah, this one is Pandokrator, so it becomes like ND. That's the only exception, and all exceptions stop. Unless it's a Greek and preceded by an N. Another word I can think of is like this pandis. So if you say like pan and then this. So it is Zahimat Difte Pandis Ilai Tonarishi. Yeah, this him. So you have a na, you have a nay, you have a tau, it just becomes ND, so it's pandis. You probably heard the hymn as Difte Pandis, but it's actually pandis due to Greek reasons that I'm not aware of, because they're Greek, and I only know Coptic. But you can ask a Ma'alib. So Difte Pandis, that's the only exception. So in most cases, the Cima is an S, the Tau is a T. However, only remember if it's a Greek word and it's preceded or followed by those letters, then you have a small exception. Again, typically you're not gonna, while you're reading, investing your time wondering if it's a Greek or not. Simply, you just know it. You probably heard people saying Pandokrator. Or if you're like, be actually looking at, like you're actually looking at words that are Greek, then you should realize it. But usually you just know those words that it's like a soft T, so it becomes D, or it's a soft C, then it becomes Z. Okay. The last one we have here is Genga, or I actually learned it when I was young as a Genga, but I've also heard Genga. However you want to call it. I'm actually not sure what's the consensus on it, but I've heard that in all way. I learned as Genga when I was young, but I heard Genga in more books. Okay, this is pretty much like G in English. It's exactly the same. By that I mean, you know, this is a G, but this is a G. So similarly, this is a G, and this is a G. So whenever so it's a G in all cases, unless it's followed by one of those sounds that sound like an A, like E. So, you know, this is all G, J. However, this is a G and go. So again, you say go. And this is J, so ga, go. So actually an example is like jig. Jig means hen, so it's a jig. Also you have gaji. Gaji means enemy, so ga, ji. It's exactly the same as the letter G in English. It's exactly the same. If it's like a E sound, it's a J, otherwise it's a G. That's pretty much it for those rules. Let's do some practice for reading. Let's put it as J, as in English. Then you have O, so it becomes go, and then R. Gore. Okay. Make sure one mistake I was doing when I was young is actually writing the Genga like a big epsilon. Just make sure it actually looks. Make sure it actually looks like a proper Genga. Telling you it's a Greek word, simply because I know. Eventually you will know too, in like future lessons. So it's an E, then you have an N, and then a P. Oh, so it's a Greek word, and then a P comes after the N, so it becomes a D. So it becomes D sound. Long E, and then May, and then A. So it's indima. Okay. Here we have a K. So I should sorry this one in indima. Here we have a K. We have a short O. We have an F. But then it's Greek. I'm putting it Greek with the end with Cima, and then F, and then followed by a May. So it becomes cos. And then mos, it becomes cosmos. Here you should know by example that the Greek word Coptic, you know it's a Coptic for sure. So you have the, it's like as if it's like something new, and then you have the S, and you have M, and then you have long E. And this me means sound, Copt and cosmos mean universe or word, or like, you know, cosmotic and stuff. So it's word. Okay. Here you have an H, then you have a short E. This one just assume it's a J, so it's an E, and then N, so it's Hejan, because as if it's saying in English. However, just to avoid confusion, let's actually write it as this way, Hejan, just so you know what it actually sounds like. But it's very similar to English. If you write it as Jen, that should be the same. Okay, here you have a P, that's a P, and then L, and then A, and I'm telling you it's Greek, and so you have an S, so the Cima, because it's followed by a May, it becomes an S, and then you have Ma, so plasma. It's just very similar to English actually. Okay, here I'm telling you it's also Greek, so you have an A, then you have an A, and there's a tav that comes after the Na, therefore it's a D, and then you have an O, and then an L, and then a long E. So it's Indoli. Indoli means commandment. Let's have a picture of this one. Okay, last one you have an A, so it's a Coptic word, you should know. So this one becomes an S for sure. Then you have an M, then you have those together, remember, it's an Ismu. Ismu is bless. So Ismu choice. Bless the Lord. Or praise. No, bless. Okay, that's it. Let's try and read those words so you can learn them. Here we have a G and O, so it become go, and then M, so it become gom. This is in Thokteti gom. That's power. And here, actually, when you see the difference in the pronunciation of an O and omega and omicron, this is G, again, long O and M, so it becomes gom. So gom is go. I usually remember it because the book kind of looks like this. Yes. So it would be like, looks like this, kind of. Rather than this. So I remember this is the one that looks like a book, because the omega is kind of like the pages of a book. That's how I remember the difference was like gom or gom. So actually the proper way to say it, Thokteti gom, If you say Thok Tetigom, you're saying yours is the book and the glory and the honor. But it's yours is the power. Thok Tetigom Nimpi O Nimpi Small. And it works. Like you don't need to say Thok Tetigom Nimpi. No, Thok Tetigom Nimpi O Nimpi Small. However, if it sounds like Gom, that's fine because of the music. But if you can actually make sure it sounds like Gom, you're actually telling God yours is the power, not yours is the book. Okay. Let's move on. Here you see a lot of Jenkins. Definitely you're talking to a Coptic word, especially that it's above this Esmarut. So you have ek, es, ma, so ek, es, ma, then ro, ut. So ek, es, ma, ro, ut. Okay, so you are blessed, and this is like one of the forms of ismu, just a form. It's a like when you want to say you are blessed, not you bless, it's you are blessed. So it becomes ek esmaro ut. Okay. Again, next one we have here, we've done this one. Again, you see a Genga of the Cima, so you know it's a Coptic word. So you have esmu. So it becomes esmu, and then S sound. Here is an S sound, because it's Coptic. The last one here, I'm telling you, is Greek, because it ends with an osima, os. So you know, it's like Antonio. So everything that ends with an os is Greek, most of the time. I would say 99.9% of the time. So you have a koz, so it's a K-O-Z, and then mos, cosmos. So that's it. Those are more words to learn. There's a much tricks here. Here I'm telling you this is Greek again, because you have an os. Anything tricky? No, I think it looks fine. And here are some just examples for you to try to pronounce it properly. And again, while you're practicing how to pronounce hymns, you will realize that sometimes, you're not really actually saying the letters properly. So try to say them properly. Thok, teti, gom, and gom and gom is a huge difference. So that's it. We actually have one more lesson left for books, for letters, and we are done.